I'm going to show you a visual method of determining the end behavior of polynomials. All right, let's take a look at first your familiar x squared. Okay, what do we mean by end behavior? Let's see. Imagine that on the left you have negative infinity, on the right you have positive infinity. And here on the bottom, negative infinity, positive infinity. Okay, when we say end behavior, we mean when x approaches infinity. In other words, imagine that you're walking on the graph and you are walking to the right. At the same time, what's happening with the function? It's going up, right? On the other side, it's going to be exact same thing, okay? And I want you to think about even, right? Because here it's x squared. Even is like the same. So whether you're going to positive infinity or negative infinity doesn't matter. Just think of two raised hands up. Okay? That happens with x squared. Now, what happens with another even power? For example, x to the fourth, or x to the sixth, or x to the eighth, exactly the same thing. Both hands are raised. What that means is whether you're going towards the left or towards the right, you are going to positive infinity at that point. Now, what happens if I were to make the number in front negative? Let's start again with x squared. And let's see if I put a negative, maybe something like -2. The easy thing to remember is that all the signs are going to flip. They were both positive, now they're going to be both negative, right? Because whether you're going towards the left or the right, you are going down. Minus, minus, instead of plus, plus. Okay? Now, what will happen if the power is odd? So something like x cubed. Here, think odd is different, right? When even was the same on both sides, odd is different on both sides. Here, if you're going towards positive infinity, you are going up. Up when it's positive infinity and down when it's negative. Okay? Up, up, down, down. Now, what happens when the number in front is negative, for example, something like -5? Everything flips. Wherever you had plus, it's minus. Wherever you had minus, it's plus. Okay. Now, I want you to make a table. Oh my God, look at that owl. All right. We're going to make a small table, and that's going to help us remember, okay, what's happening. Okay, so I'm going to make a table. Here I'm going to say, so we're talking about something like x to the power n, possibly with a number in the front, like some a. Okay, so if n is even, like 2, 4, 6, 8, and n is odd, like 1, 3, 5, 7, and so on, and also if the number, the a is positive or A is negative, okay? Now, we're going to separate this at what happens at negative infinity and positive. Same thing here, negative, positive. Okay, when n is even and the number is positive, you got both pluses, plus, plus. Whether you're going to negative infinity or positive infinity, up, up. When it's odd, at negative is negative, at positive is positive. Okay, so it's like matching. What happens if the number in front of x to the power n is negative? Everything flips. The plus becomes minus, minus, minus. Here, minus becomes plus, plus becomes minus. And it's not that hard, right? Making this table is really not that hard. First, let's start with something like x to the power 10, right? Here, n is even, and the number in the front is positive. We've got the two pluses. Doesn't matter whether you're going to negative infinity or positive, it's still positive. Now, if it's something like negative x squared, so here our number in the front is negative, but the power is even. Even means the same thing, but because the number is negative, both of them are going to be negative infinity, not positive. Now, let's look at the last one. That's x to the power 7. This is where the power is odd, and the coefficient in front is positive. Here at negative, negative, at positive, positive. So negative, negative, positive, positive. What happens if it's negative x to the 5? Exactly the opposite. It was negative, negative, positive, positive. Now it's going to be negative, positive, positive, negative. Well, I hope this video helped you and didn't confuse you. We'll see.